Oh, David. Gotta like that sound. You know, the only thing I like better than that sound coming every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon, Eastern is Fridays. You know what today is? Both that sound and it's Friday. You know, there was a very tragic shooting that occurred. And if you haven't caught it, I don't know what rock you live under, but in Minneapolis, some deranged trans psychopath decided to shoot up a church school at a point of prayer. If this was a mosque, it would be Islamophobia. Synagogue, it would be anti-Semitism. But it was a church. Catholics praying. Wasn't a hate crime. Wasn't a psychopath, transgender lunatic. It wasn't a crazy psycho Democrat. It wasn't a deranged lunatic of any kind. It was an unfortunate set of circumstances. It was the gun's fault. That's what you hear if you listen to the Jen Psaki's, the mayors, even the police chief of Minneapolis or Tampon Tim. It can't be mental health. Can't be the mental health of people that have real serious issues. It's got to be the victims. It's the Catholics' fault for being Catholics. It's the little Christian boys and Christian teachers that are responsible for turning this psychopath into a raged lunatic. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Rant Network. It's your go-to podcast for unfiltered, unapologetic discussions. Hosted by myself, Stuart Brisgell, with my lifelong friend, David Sullivan. We tackle this diverse range of topics in candid conversation with bold opinions, not just to point the obvious out, but possibly to enlighten you on maybe how both sides of the aisle are talking about the same issue. And the issue is that both sides don't talk about these issues, which is why Dave and I have been doing this for 5+ years. So grab a seat, settle in. This is going to be from every side. David?
Stuart, you started off by commenting about some of the people. Let's go back for just a second. I was mortified, Stuart, like simply mortified on Wednesday when I heard about this shooting, school shooting. Let's talk about it. It's kids. I'm so mortified to hear that kids were shot. And allegedly, this shooter came in with 3 different types of, had a rifle, a gun, and what else, shot indiscriminately through a window, killing 2 kids sitting in a pew. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, what for? Why? What could have possessed an individual to go and shoot children indiscriminately? Well, when the police showed the messaging on this person's gun, kill Donald Trump. Israel must fall. The hateful messages on the gun, let alone the manifesto that they found later, on the gun. I was mortified. This is what you've become. You've created, and don't always throw at me mental health businesses. It's always the same thing. Why is it that this person went into a Catholic church to shoot children? Because the messaging that comes out time and time again by the left, whether it's through media or social media, is hate certain people. Now, you brought up another thing. Had this been in a mosque or in a synagogue, we would call it racism. The left doesn't want to call it racism. Why not? You are going after it, or a hate crime. You went purposely to a Catholic church to shoot people. When you have that kind of plan and mindset, there's hate involved. And let's downplay the hate. Once again, the left wants to distance itself from the person that they've created. Listen, the right creates their own nutcases. I'm not saying when a white supremacist goes and shoots, black people in a church a number of years ago, I agree totally. This is wrong. I condemned that years ago. And I'm condemning this even just as much. But I'm so goddamn tired of the people like Chuck Schumer who right away blame Donald Trump for lack of gun control. Let me remind you that after the church shooting in South Carolina, President Obama had a chance, and Nikki Haley was the governor at the time, and she appealed to President Obama. Now's the time to bring in some form of gun control, and nothing happened. Yeah. President Biden tried and brought something in, fine. But for God's sakes, it's always, hey, you were in charge, you're at fault. So am I sickened to hear that the mayor of Minneapolis is downplaying what makes people feel good? You're supposed to protect your people. And clearly you've learned nothing from George Floyd about protecting your own people, that you create hate by making statements. And when the Minneapolis mayor says, what's the point of prayer? It didn't help these children. Ha, my God, I'm trying to understand, do you have any understanding of the people? And do you understand now why the left is distancing itself more and more and more from real Americans? Because America is a melting pot of a bunch of people, which includes Catholics who want to pray, Muslims who want to pray, Jews who want to pray, Buddhists who want to pray, other religions who want to pray. And if you're telling me that prayer is terrible, nonsensical, irrelevant, let me quote Jen Psaki on what she wrote on X, Stuart. Prayer is not freaking enough. Prayers does not end school shootings. Prayers do not make parents feel safe sending their kids to school. Prayer does not bring these kids back. Enough with the thoughts and prayers. Thank you, Jen. You, with that statement, showed what the left believes in. But then to make this about, of course, Donald Trump, she added, when kids are getting shot in their pews at a Catholic school mass and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around DC, maybe rethink your strategy. I'm sorry, who is responsible for the state of Minnesota? Who's responsible for the city of Minneapolis? You tell the president he has no jurisdiction in your cities and towns, and then you blame him for what he does in DC. This is the incredulity that I cannot begin to understand. Have they actually got out of their bomb shelters and gone out into real life and talked to people?
David, I want to point something out. I am not the guy who's going to be known in this rant as the history buff. But I'd like to remind people, and I've brought this up a number of times. You have my and your analogy how the Democratic Party is very much like the Soviet Party, communist. David, the Soviet religious persecution was a systematic state sponsor to eliminate religion and to promote atheism through various campaigns, either through legislation or through mockery and blame. That was from 1917 to 1991. It involved closing churches, places of worship, assassinating, imprisoning religious leaders and believers, and confiscating church property. That was the Soviet Union. They wanted a state of atheism, an ideological goal to believe in the party and the party as the religion. Sounds imminently just no different than the Nazis of World War II, who also wanted to systematically destroy the religion and make their own. Pray to me, I'm your God, I am the leader of a party. Jen Psaki, Schumer, Tampon Tim, they're only proving our argument, because I'm going to include you in it, and furthers our proof that that's their ultimate goal. They want a Soviet-styled country. They don't want America. They don't want freedom. They want communism. They want socialism. They want totalitarianism. Rules for me, not for thee.
But it's okay. I get the philosophy, and I'm not gonna debate with you. Sorry, the history. It's irrelevant. I'll tell you what is irrelevant. What is relevant? I'm sorry. What do the people want? So I spoke to a gentleman, Stuart, who lives in Michigan, who also sends his child to a Catholic school. And we were talking about it, and he said to me, he goes, the parents were gathered in to talk about the security that's being put in front of the churches now and the Catholic schools. So I asked him, I said, is this the solution to the problem? Is this the solution that you want to have? Rather than solve the problem, let's put more security in front of, churches, synagogues, and mosques. Is this it? Like, Stuart, the left is sitting here saying, not my problem. The left is ignoring, and I'm saying the left because there are liberal Democrats who are very much like, this is wrong and we need to fix it. And there are several Democrats who are Catholics or who are devout religious individuals in their own communities, and they think this is disgusting. You don't downplay another person's religion, and you don't downplay this whole thing. Stuart, this was a hate crime through and through. Let me just tell you, according to Kash Patel, this person, because of the transgender nature, I'm not going to get into that. According to Patel, left multiple anti-Catholic, anti-religious references both in his manifesto and written on his firearms. I'm quoting Patel. Subject expressed hatred and violence towards Jewish people, writing Israel must fall, free Palestine, and using explicit language related to the Holocaust. He wrote an explicit call for violence against President Trump on a firearm magazine. And you're sitting here talking about Trump. You're sitting here talking about prayers don't help. What is this? The left has created this hate, this visceral hate that leads people to kill children. And you're sitting here bitching about the National Guard in DC. You are beyond fucked up, Jen Psaki. You guys are all lunatics. And the reason I said the left and not Democrats is because I don't believe that all Democrats are this stupid. I've met many. They're totally disgusted by what happened. But when you go past that line, Stuart, from normal or some sort of sanity to stupid and insane, like the Jen Psaki's, you should be taken down. You should be taken out as a leader in your community, whatever. For crying out loud, 17 people were injured, 14 children, 2 dead, an 8 and a 10-year-old, and you're going to fight like you usually do. Let's go after Trump. You want to know why you can't win an election? This is my political rant. You want to know why you can't win an election? Because you've completely disconnected with reality and what your population wants. If you want to create a community of haters, of anti-religious zealots, please leave America and go find another country and to do that. I'm sure there is a lovely tribe in Africa that will take you in because they're killing Christians all over the world. Go join them.
Yeah. Mutilating children, in the African countries with crazy surgery on what do they call it?
Anyways, yeah.
We can go on and on. David, but you know what? This is a long weekend. It's Labor Day here in the United States, and I don't know. We're going to talk about Monday. I think
Stuart, we'll see what Monday is, but I'll tell you something. The Conservative Family Research Council reported last month that at least 415 attacks against 383 churches in 43 states occurred in 2024. Now, I'm not comparing this to anti-Semitism or anti-Muslim because I'm not using Islamophobia anymore. I'm using, it's like, any religion, whatever. But think about it, people, that every day there was an attack on a church somewhere in 43 states last year. Let that sink in.
David, it's time to call it a wrap. Thank you for joining in as we are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. Please comment on these multiple little shorts we put up, 30 seconds. Grab the full podcast on our website. Catch us on YouTube, Facebook, and others. Download us on your favorite podcast. We're here every day of the week when you go online, but live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon. David, say goodbye.